It's hard to believe that it's been about 2 years since Toyota first revealed the all-new next-generation Tundra back in 2021. As you guys know, the previous generation ran for nearly 15 years with very little changes, and when Toyota finally introduced the all-new third generation, they had to play a lot of catch-up with a lot of American rivals. Now this week, as you can see, Toyota has loaned me the ultimate Tundra. This is the TRD Pro. As you guys know, the TRD Pro has the distinction of going head-to-head with vehicles like the Silverado Trail Boss, Sierra AT4X, and the Ford F-150 Tremor. However, unlike its American rivals, this vehicle comes standard with a hybridized powertrain, a 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 paired up with an electric motor sandwiched between the 10-speed autos. So as you can see this week, Toyota has loaned me this 2024 TRD Pro. We're going to find out what this vehicle is like to drive for a full week. We're going to put it through our usual battery of tests, and at the end of this video, we're going to find out, does the TRD Pro represent the ultimate Tundra in the trim hierarchy? Stay tuned to find out. Now before we start talking about the styling differences with the TRD Pro, and there are quite a few, let me go ahead and pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing. Now Toyota makes it pretty simple. Unlike some competitors, you just get one engine option, and it's the only electrified motor that you're gonna find in the off-road capable, right off the factory showroom floor, half-ton space. Now, as you can see, this powertrain you guys should be pretty familiar with. Toyota is marketing this as the ultimate powertrain, a true replacement for the old 5.7-liter V8. It's the iForce Max 3.4-liter twin turbocharged V6 paired up with a 36-kilowatt electric motor that's sandwiched between the engine and the 10-speed automatic transmission. The engine on its own delivers 389 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. When you add the output of the 48 horsepower electric motor, which also offers up 184 pound-feet of torque, you get a total of 437 horsepower. That's a little bit less than what you're going to get in the Ford 3.5 twin-turbo EcoBoost V6 Raptor, but it has more torque at 583 pound-feet. That again puts it among the best in the segment for torque output, which is the reason why Toyota calls it the iForce Max. Now, it has a small 1.87 kilowatt hour nickel metal hydride battery pack that lives underneath the rear seat. This is a full hybrid system, so it has the ability to drive this vehicle on electric power alone at low speeds, especially if you're stuck in rush hour traffic. Fuel economy, however, was not a priority for this powertrain, but it has been markedly improved over the previous generation. It's rated at 18 in the city, 20 on the highway. This is the lowest MPG numbers that you're going to find in the iForce Max Tundra family because of the fact that the TRD Pro has a lifted suspension and all-terrain tires. Compare that to the 1317 that the previous generation gave you, which again is a huge improvement. Toyota doesn't claim 0 to 60, but we got our equipment. It should be just under 6 seconds. It has a top speed around 107 miles an hour. In terms of towing, this is also going to be the one that tows the most in terms of the half-ton short cab four-wheel drive configurations at 11,175 pounds. Max payload is also 1,600 pounds, and as this vehicle sits, it weighs in just over 6,100 pounds. This makes it around 400 pounds heavier versus like an F-150 Tremor because of the componentry from the battery pack and from the electric motors. But let's go ahead and close up the hood and talk about the exterior styling. Now, my tester here is painted in magnetic gray. It's a really great color combination with the Rioja red interior or circuit red interior. It's a beautiful looking truck. Although some people have mentioned that the front end of this truck still is a little too in your face with the big grille. Keep in mind, the Sequoia, which is built on the same platform, has a slightly different look at the front fascia, and you could theoretically swap out the bumpers if you guys are so inclined to do so. But you can see all Tundras come standard with full LED headlights. You can see it has kind of like a 4 LED design with a dynamic turn signal here, LED daytime running lights. That's included if you guys go for the higher trims with the dynamic turn signal. The lower trim won't have that. You also get fog lights on the TRD Pro, which I really appreciate. You can see the Pro has its own unique front end with the technical camo that you're going to find in the front fascia and on the side of the vehicle. It also has the heritage-inspired Toyota logo there where it spells out Toyota as opposed to using the actual Toyota badge. You can see it also has the 3 LED marker lights because this vehicle here is about 1.5 inches wider than a regular Tundra at 81.6 inches long. When it's over 80 inches wide, it does require you, of course, to have those marker lights to show people on the road that you're kind of going down the road. The TRD Pro also includes this light bar here, which this only activates if you have the high beams on. It's designed for off-road use, and at night these actually just shine more light to the sides of the vehicle. It really widens your view when you guys are driving off-road at night where it's really dark. It's a really nice feature. You can see massive air intake here. This engine requires a lot of cooling. Another air intake over here underneath the headlight that's functional. But overall, you can see, let me know in the comment section below how you think the styling has aged. I think this truck is still good looking, but I definitely prefer the front fascia of the Sequoia a little bit more. Now, another unique thing, the TRD Pro gives you the aluminum skid plate underneath here with the TRD badging along with the upgraded suspension. You can see the red painted springs and the Fox Racing shocks, which I'll talk about later on. But moving around the side profile, you can see the TRD Pro only comes as a crew cab with the shorter 5.5 foot bed. If you guys want the longer 6.5 foot bed, you're gonna have to change your trim level. You can't get it on this model here. Its wheelbase is around 145.7 inches long. It's actually the same length as the previous generation, but at 233.6 inches long, this is around 5 inches longer than the previous generation Tundra in this same cab configuration. This is actually around 2 inches longer than an F-150. So this is a big truck. Now looking at the wheels, you can see the TRD Pro comes with these black finished 18-inch BBS forged wheels with a nearly 14-inch rotor behind it in the front, a 13.2 at the rear. You have a twin piston caliper at the front. I would have liked to see Toyota upgrade the brakes with like a Brembo brake with red painted calipers, but you can't get that for now. You can see the suspension. Like I said earlier, the front has a Fox Racing suspension that has been lifted up by 1.1 inches. You also have a internal bypass 2.5 shock at the rear with a remote reservoir. That's going to give you, again, that better off-road capability for doing jumps, for doing some serious higher speeds and off-roading. This vehicle has around 9 inches of ground clearance. That's the ground clearance. Toyota actually shows the running ground clearance at 10.9. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. This vehicle does not have quite as much ground clearance as its competitors, which I think a Raptor will have around 11 inches. The Tremor, I think, has a little over 10, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the mirrors, you can see they are matte black finish along with a shiny black at the lower portion. These are power folding, integrated turn signals. You have cameras around the vehicle. And then you can see here the TRD Pro comes standard with a big panoramic roof, which you can't get on the Sequoia TRD Pro. So that's one of the reasons why you'd want the Tundra if you guys want the big roof. You can see no rock rails or side steps, which kind of makes getting into this truck a challenge. It's part of a dealer accessory, which my tester doesn't have. You can see the technical camo on the front is again showing on the side of the vehicle, which I actually really like. It looks great with the magnetic gray exterior color of this truck. You can see the rear window still electrically rolls down, which is a unique feature. And then you can see the TRD Pro gives you a unique catback exhaust system, which it sounds good. Although this V6 obviously is not going to produce the same noises as the old V8. Now moving around the rear of the vehicle, you can see my tester has an optional raised lettering for the TRD Pro badge that's stamped into the tailgate. It looks good. I actually like it a lot with this color combination. You also have the sequential LED turn signals, which you can see have the triple LEDs that kind of move in sequence, which is really nice. The tow package here comes standard, 11,175 pound towing capacity. And you also have the three LEDs back here, just like on the front. You can also open up the tailgate by pushing this little button here, or you can also open it over here. This is really handy if you've got stuff and you need to use your elbow. You can see when you open up the tailgate, it's a damped tailgate, and you have an aluminum composite bed. As standard, Toyota still offers a spray-in or a drop-in bed liner. My tester also has the optional bed extender, which again, this is going to be very useful. This is exactly how I'd spec it out. You can also get a tonneau cover if you'd like, but this bed will hold a maximum of 1,600 pounds of payload, which is really great. The one downside with the Tundra, however, is you only get a 400 watt power outlet back here. Considering this is a full hybrid, like something like Ford even offers like a 2 kilowatt power output in the back here, an inverter. Toyota really should have taken advantage of the battery pack in this vehicle and did some kind of pro power on board. You do have LED lighting, but overall the bed at 5.5 feet is definitely still very useful. So moving on from the exterior to the inside of the TRD Pro Tundra, Toyota has also made some changes to make this vehicle feel more upscale and more special on the inside when you actually step into the interior. But let me first show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the Toyota corporate key fob. It does come standard with their intelligent access key. It has your usual buttons for lock, unlock. You can open up the tailgate, activate the panic function. You can also remote start the vehicle by pushing the lock button 3 times in sequence, and that'll activate the remote start. You also can have access to the vehicle through your smartphone if you have the access to the Toyota Connected Services app. Now you can see the door handles, they're not painted, but they have this little ridge area here that you can touch that'll lock the door. Toyota does not have the automatic walk-away auto lock and unlock function. I was really hoping Toyota would add that. You also don't have additional sensors on the rear of the doors. To lock and unlock it, you have to actually touch the front door handles, but if you touch the back, that's gonna unlock the door for you. The mirrors also electrically fold. Now, my tester has a really wonderful color combination with the Rioja red interior. This is a soft tex, it's a faux leather material, but it looks really great. It feels durable. These are also heated and ventilated seats with an 8-way power driver's seat, and you also have 2-way lumbar, and then you also get 2-person memory on the driver's side. Now, keep in mind, if you guys want even more luxury, the capstone will have the semi-aniline two-tone black and white leather that looks like it belongs on a Lexus. The TRD Pro, however, gives you the badging here embossed on the actual seat back. And it looks really good with the magnetic gray. You can see the door panels have this soft touch material with the stitching, real stitching on the upper portion, more of that here. Padded armrests where you can see there, you can see windows are one touch for all 4. They feel pretty average. They don't have like the high quality feel of a Lexus, but again, this is a Toyota truck. Down here you can see some storage, hard touch plastic, and then the TRD Pro comes standard with the 12 speaker JBL sound, which sounds okay. It doesn't sound quite as good as some of the competing systems from other brands, but I do like the racing pedals and then the unique TRD steering wheel. Now you can see here, without the side step, this is a really high step in for somebody that's my height at 5'7", so you can kind of grab this handle here and hoist yourself up, which again, you're gonna want those rock rails or step rails from the dealer if you guys are a little bit shorter, you aren't quite as limber. But as I get in and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on the new TNGA F architecture that also underpins the Lexus LX600, Land Cruiser, the Sequoia. Once I start the vehicle up, you can see no traditional starter noise, but the engine does fire up most of the time because, again, this is a very small electric motor and a small battery pack. So it is a full hybrid, but this is just such a big, heavy truck that it requires the power output of the engine constantly. You can see the TRD also includes a red accented TRD start button, which is nice. You have this unique steering wheel with the red accents, the TRD logo over here. The wheel itself has a nice beefy 9-3 grip, which is nice. And then when you look at the rest of this interior, you can see this is certainly not the luxury-oriented trim, but the Tundra has decent materials, although up here you can see it's hard touch plastic. You have an actual power outlet over here along with some storage. You have the Toyota logo there, which is the heritage style. It's inscripted on the dash. This is not illuminated though. In the capstone and in the Platinum and 1794 trim, you get kind of ambient lighting. In the TRD Pro, you don't get any of that. It's kind of dark in here, which is a little disappointing. Hard touch plastic here, but it is nice and padded here with some more of the soft text material, although no exposed stitching on that portion of the dash, which is fine. You can see the steering wheel has a manual tilt and telescoping adjustment. The capstone, if I remember correctly, had powered tilt and telescoping steering wheel, which was nice. The horn sounds pretty nice. It's nondescript, but it's also doesn't sound puny. There's no paddle shifters on the wheel for this model. I would have actually expected Toyota to put paddles, but you can see all TRD Pros come standard with the dual 12.3-inch instrument cluster, which you can slightly customize if you'd like. You can change out the way the gauges look there. You can also get rid of the tach and give yourself just a full digital or analog speedometer style. You can also adjust the controls or the information controls over here, from your fuel economy to your navigation to your audio information. So this is all a very nice system, and I like the fact that Toyota again is giving us finally a full digital cluster. You can hear the engine was on, but now it's shut off. Even though the AC is on, the AC continues to run even when the engine is shut off. You can credit that, of course, to the full hybrid system. Now you can see here all TRD Pros come standard with the big screen. This is a 14-inch touchscreen, part of Toyota's audio multimedia interface. You can see wireless CarPlay and Android Auto is present, and it works really nice. My phone always connected to it. It has wireless over-the-air updates. I love how large the screen is. It's got quick and snappy responses. You can see going back to the Toyota system there. It doesn't have a dedicated home screen, but you can see it's really quick and it goes through the menus and what you'd like very fast. So that's always a really nice touch. You can see push this button here. It gives you your full 360 perimeter scan camera, which I don't love Toyota's view here. It's just not quite as useful as what you find from the European manufacturers, where you can kind of scroll around the vehicle. This to me just seems more like a party trick. I don't particularly love that. It's more useful when you put the vehicle into reverse. You can see there's your full 360 camera with different tow views and off-road clearance views. You can even see inside the bed. So this is of course going to be very nice for those of you who need all these different camera functions and whatnot. I think Toyota, the graphics and resolution also have been improved, but they are kind of average compared to the rest of the segment, but they are definitely more useful. Now you can see down here you have dual zone climate control, which is nice. You have all these usual buttons here. You can see there's your trailer control button there. You have your 360 camera. You have a locking rear diff. This generation introduced the first locking rear diff, I believe, for the Tundra, which is nice to see, although you don't have a center locking diff or a front diff. That's what you're going to find in something like the Raptor, I believe. So that's something to keep in mind. This beefy shifter here controls the 10-speed auto. You can see it has a sport mode. it has a manual mode in the actual shifter, but not in terms of paddle shifters, but at least you do get some kind of manual mode. Your 4-wheel drive switch is right here. You can see it's a part-time system, 2 high, 4 low. When I want to put it in 4-wheel drive, you have to push down on that. It quickly will engage 4 high, and you can see it will show it in the screen over there. Once it lights up as solid, that's how you know it's locked in 4-wheel drive. There's also different drive mode selectors. There's an eco, normal, and a sport. And then when you put it into mud MTS mode, it actually will switch out the different driving modes there. Let me go ahead and try to switch it here, get it to lock into 4-wheel drive. Sometimes it takes a second. That's the downside of this older Toyota part-time system. I would have really liked to see Toyota introduce a full-time system in this truck. Again, I'm still having trouble getting it to lock into 4 high, which it's really funny how it's not doing it now, because it was doing it so easily earlier. There it goes. It finally locked into 4 high. So now if I push this MTS button here, you can see it gives you different modes. There's an automatic, a dirt, a sand, mud, and a deep snow. They call it multi-terrain select. This is where the computer will read what kind of terrain you're on, and it'll adjust the traction control, it'll adjust the torque distribution, all that good stuff. There's also a 4 low, which you have to be in neutral to switch into that. You have cup holders here, you have a wireless phone charging pad here, although it would have been nice to see if Toyota could fit 2 wireless phone charging pads there as opposed to 1. Your trailer brake controller is over here. And then if you want to access to a few more controls here, you can access the TRD light bar from here, your heated steering wheel, the 120 volt power outlet, and then you can turn off the rear cross traffic braking, and then you can also turn on the rear bed light and such. So that's all pretty nice. I also like the digital camera review mirror, which again, if you don't like that, you can kind of make it a traditional mirror, but that really allows you to see more of what's behind you. You can see this, open this up, there's a little bit of storage there. Although this door feels a little bit cheap, you can slide this open to have access to that. My tester actually, as you can see, also has the console safe. This is an extra feature where it's lockable. It does eat into your center console space here, but this is a really nice place if you want to store, valuable items. You have 2 USB charging ports here, which is nice. A little bit of storage there off to the side. In terms of fit and finish, this vehicle feels like it's been built well. I mean, Toyota has a reputation for build quality and reliability, although I did notice there's a couple of areas here where the fitment for this doesn't fit very well on the center console, but that was really the only thing I noticed. There is a slight rattle in the door panel here when I had the music turned on, so that wasn't also very nice. But again, the capstone model is the one that's going to give you real wood and the upgraded semi-aniline leather. You can see, open up the glove compartment here. It's damped but not lined with felt. It's actually a pretty deep glove box. It's a pretty good size. You can see above me here, big panoramic sunroof, which has a retractable shade. Thank goodness, because it is hot outside right now. But you can see you can open this up. You can also open up the sunroof itself if you want to let in some actual light. You can see it goes all the way into the back. It tilts up, or it just tilts if you guys want. You can see it opens up only over the 2 front seats, which again, it's nice that Toyota offers this. You cannot get this sliding panoramic roof on the Sequoia TRD Pro. You can only get a standard sunroof on the Sequoia, so it's nice that Toyota offers it on the Tundra. But overall, you can see the front seat area is spacious, it's roomy, it has decent materials, good quality fit and finish. It has a nice commanding view of the road. The JBL sound system sounds good, but I think for those of you who are coming from an old Tundra into this new one, you're gonna find plenty to like, and this can keep toe-to-toe with the newer American competitors, and the Toyota has one of the biggest screens at 14 inches. Taking a look at the back seat of the TRD Pro, this vehicle only comes as the crew cab configuration, so you're gonna get that maximum amount of interior space at the rear. Toyota says you have a little over 41.5 inches of legroom back here, which puts it near the top of the segment. You can see the beautiful Rioja red seats. The soft tech seats carry over into the back. You have that same technical camo splashed in the insert. However, you don't get the heated and ventilated seats that you find in the Platinum or in the Capstone trim, which is kind of a bummer. I would have liked to see Toyota carry that over for the TRD Pro. You can see the rear door panel materials, hard touch plastic here, so it's a downgrade from the front, but you still have some soft touch materials here, a lot of storage in the door panel areas. And then sadly, unlike the other non-hybrid Tundras, you don't get the storage underneath the rear seat here, because the 1.87 kilowatt hour battery pack lives underneath here, so you do have to sacrifice that storage. Now getting back here, you can see it's got still a nice high step in height, so thank God there's a grab handle here as I get in and shut the door. You can see the door has a relatively solid sounding thunk as the front. You can see the space back here is just huge. I have a ton of legroom. The floor is not completely flat, sadly. You do have rear seat air vents. You can see this is where you'd have the heated and ventilated seat controls. You have a 12 volt, 400 watt power outlet over here. You have 2 storage cubbies, and then the vehicle is so wide that you can easily fit 3 people across, which is nice. You have an armrest that folds down and gives you 2 cup holders, of course. This rear window also rolls down. You have LED map lighting back here. But overall, you can see the TRD Pro's rear seat is just as spacious as the other crew cab models. It just doesn't have quite the same luxury features that you find in the 1794 or the Platinum or the Capstone trim. So I've been lucky enough to have the privilege of being able to drive this new generation Tundra a few times now. In fact, the last one I drove was the Capstone about 8 to 9 months ago. Remember, the Capstone is the top of the line version, but the more luxury oriented model. So now that we're behind the wheel of the TRD Pro, this is the most off-road oriented version. Let's go ahead and see what this vehicle is like to drive. Now, first of all, just like the Capstone, to get maximum acceleration, you have to put it into four-wheel drive high. This vehicle does not have a full-time system where you could put it into an automatic mode. And I don't recommend driving a part-time system in four-wheel drive on pavement. It just kind of will bind up the axles when you turn the wheel, or the differentials will get bind up. So you're gonna primarily leave it in two-wheel drive, but just for demonstration purposes, we have the Hybrid Max powertrain as standard in this model. So I wanna test out and see if this model gets a similar 0-60 performance as the Capstone, which I got as 5.7 seconds back in August of last year when I first drove it. This vehicle weighs roughly the same, just over 6,000 pounds, up to 583 pound-feet of torque. So let's go ahead and see what we can get when we brake torque it. Oof, this thing feels so fast. It also sounds good. 5.9 there. Now, 5.9 is definitely 0.2 seconds slower than the Capstone model. Now, you can probably, get that lower number because of the fact that this has a slightly lifted suspension. It's got all-terrain tires, which increase the drag and the rolling resistance. But still, that's a very respectable time. It's a smidge slower also than what I got in the Sequoia TRD Pro, which I had a couple months ago, which is surprising to me. But the Tundra is a bigger vehicle. Perhaps it has more aerodynamic drag. I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, a 6-second time, a sub 6-second time is going to be quick enough for most people. It is going to trail what you can get in something like the F-150 with its twin turbo EcoBoost V6 by a couple tenths of a second, which is fine. I mean, nobody buys these trucks to go drag racing and whatnot, but let's just see what we can get here on this stretch. I put it back into two-wheel drive, but we're just going to floor it. .26 there, so pretty good times. I also have the transmission in Sport, and I have the drive mode selector in Sport. Now, the Sport mode in this vehicle basically just affects the transmission programming and perhaps slightly the steering a little bit. It doesn't have adaptive dampers. That's the thing about the Tundra, is if you want the model with the adaptive variable suspension, it's limited to the Capstone, the 1794, and the Platinums, and it's still part of an optional package. I believe the last Capstone that I had almost a year ago didn't have that feature as well with the adaptive variable suspension. The result is Tundras tend to ride a little bit more on the rougher side. Now, the TRD Pro has its own unique Fox reservoir, 2.5 shocks in the rear with a 1.1-inch suspension lift. I would probably say that this vehicle rides on the harder side. It actually rides a little bit harder than the 22-inch wheels that I drove on the Capstone. It's pretty similar, of course, to the Sequoia. This has a live axle in the back, but it is coil springs. But if you want an air suspension, it's not available on the TRD Pro, and you can only get an air suspension for the rear of the vehicle. You can also hear the engine in this model is pretty loud because Toyota is piping in a synthetic V8 sound through the speakers, but it also has a unique TRD Sport tuned exhaust, which I don't really hear the exhaust. I really just hear the fake sound, which sounds good. It can get a little bit boomy at times, but I appreciate that Toyota obviously wanted to give you something that sounds, more burly, more mean, masculine sounding, as opposed to because they got rid of the V8, which a lot of people really appreciated the old Toyota V8. But this hybridized twin turbo V6, which you can spin out the rear if you really wanted to, is pretty nice. I mean, the 10-speed also has really smooth, crisp shifts. It's a wonderful partner to this engine. And I think for most people, it is a suitable replacement for the V8, especially when it comes to the efficiency, which I'll touch base on in just a moment. But overall, the TRD Pro drives pretty similarly to the other trims. It just has a slightly more rougher ride. It's a little bit louder because of the exhaust and the tires. But let's try it again here one more time. A little bit of wheel spin. It shifts at like 5,000 RPM, the first shift at least, 6.3 there. So again, we'll take the 5.9 as the fastest time. You're gonna get smoked, unfortunately, by an F-150 EcoBoost. But this should keep pace with the 6.2 liter V8s from GM, and definitely quicker than the 5.7 Hemi that you'll find in the Ram 1500. So that's all very, very nice. Now, the one downside about this Tundra TRD Pro is it has the worst turning radius of the trim line structure at just under 50 feet. The only thing that's going to get worse is if you go for the long bed crew cab, which will do like 52 feet. So this truck could definitely use a better turning radius. I mean, it would be nice if Toyota would put four-wheel steering on it, but they don't do that technically, at least not on Toyotas. Maybe Lexus will get something like that. But overall, I'll switch the drive mode here back into its normal setting. The transmission will quit shifting or holding the gears. And this truck, when you drive it normally like this, it gets pretty quiet inside, actually. You do hear some of the tire drumming noise from the all-terrain tires, but these are 33s. This truck really looks kind of weak with 33s. You could use 35s. Toyota was using a 33 for fuel efficiency and better drivability on the road. You definitely get that commanding view of the road, which is nice. You can see out of everything pretty well. The view out of the front and the sides is good. The rear is great thanks to that digital camera rearview mirror. Without it, I can still see out of it pretty well, but I love that feature with the digital camera rearview mirror. My Tester doesn't have the ridiculous looking tow mirrors, which I prefer these mirrors instead. They're power folding, and this truck is big and it's wide. It's about 1.5 inches wider than the regular Tundra, and you feel that additional width, you feel the length. If you guys are used to driving a full-size half-ton truck, this is gonna be perfectly acceptable. But what I appreciate about the Tundra hybrid powertrain is right now the engine is off. The engine is off, so all you hear is more of that tire drumming. But it's nice because this is a full hybrid system. It gives you the ability to drive on electric power alone, albeit at very low speeds. Like if I put my foot down a little bit, literally just like a 1/4 inch and the engine will come back on, which is not the same experience that you're gonna get in the regular Toyota hybrids with their eCVTs and the additional electric motors. This electric motor in this truck only has like 48 horsepower. It's really not enough to move a 6,000-pound truck, so that's why the gas engine constantly is firing. Where you do get more efficiencies when you drive this vehicle in traffic. If you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, that's where the engine will shut off more. It will save you some fuel and get you that slightly better gas mileage. Now, speaking of gas mileage, let's talk about the fuel economy in this vehicle. Now, in a capstone that I had last year, I was averaging around 17 miles to the gallon. I'm sorry, 18 miles to the gallon in the capstone when I had that. This truck is rated at 1820. In my week's worth of testing, I've been averaging around 17 mpg, so 1 mpg less than the capstone. On the highway, the best I could do is like 18.5 mpg. So I never really hit the EPA's numbers of 1820. The Tundra iForce Max powertrain was not designed for maximum fuel efficiency. It was designed, the max stands for max power, max torque, and that's what it exactly gives you. Now, this is obviously better than the 1317 that the old Tundra TRD Pro used to give you with its thirsty 5.7 liter V8. So I would say this truck probably gets around 3 to 4 mpg better than the old Tundra. So it's still an improvement, but if you guys are comparing it to an EcoBoost F-150, the Ford, even though it's not a hybrid, if you're looking at like a Tremor trim, will get pretty similar MPG to this. So Toyota could have made the MPG better, but they were really targeting power with this, and they certainly gave you power. And it's still very class competitive, so I can't harp on them that much, but you know, an improvement is an improvement. It could have been better, obviously, but overall, the TRD Pro definitely doesn't feel like a direct competitor to the Raptor. The Raptor and the TRX just feel like one step above. But if you guys are looking at a Tremor or a Trail Boss Silverado or an AT4 GMC Canyon, this is definitely worth a look, and it is also the only hybrid option because, as you guys know, the GM and the Ford doesn't offer the Power Boost feature, Power Boost engine, the hybrid engine on the Tremor. So that kind of makes the Tundra TRD Pro unique. Could Toyota take it a step further and make this a true Raptor competitor? I would love to see them do that, but you know, if you guys are looking for the ultimate in capability for the current generation Tundra, this is the one that you're going to be wanting to take a look at. So after spending a full week with the 2024 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro, it's pretty obvious that if you guys are looking for the most off-road capable and beefiest looking Tundra in the family, you're going to be wanting to put this one at the very top of your list. Obviously, it's not quite as beefy or capable as vehicles like the Ford F-150 Raptor or the Ram TRX, but what Toyota has here is a nice middle ground between that vehicle and, of course, an F-150 Tremor, something like that. This model here with its 33-inch tall all-terrain tires, its optional Fox, or its upgraded Fox Racing suspension, and the upgraded look that you're gonna get on the outside, along with the standard iForce Max powertrain, makes for a really great overall package. As you guys saw, 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds is very competitive. Fuel efficiency could be better, but that's not necessarily the point of the TRD Pro. In terms of driving it on the road, it's certainly an easier truck to drive than I expected it to be, although Toyota really needs to work on making the turning radius smaller in this vehicle, especially for those of you who live in smaller areas, although I suspect if you buy a truck like this, you're gonna be living in more wide open spaces like the area that I'm showing you here. In terms of gripes, I think Toyota still needs to work on the ride quality for this truck. I seriously would like to see them put the adaptive variable suspension on more models to try to get the ride quality to be a little bit better. I think the Ram and the Ford just have the best ride quality in the segment. And then in terms of the styling, some of you have said that you don't like the front end of this truck. I personally think it's aged extremely well. It still looks new, it still looks fresh, and the interior is still among the best in the industry thanks to that massive 14-inch touchscreen. But really, if you guys are looking to purchase this truck, the hard part about it is the fact that dealers tend to mark up the TRD Pro because of the hierarchy in the trim lines. This is just more of the, again, the most capable Tundra, although it's not quite as capable as a Raptor. I would really like to see Toyota take it to the next level with the TRD Pro. It really is begging for a bigger tire and wheel package. A 35-inch or a 37-inch tall tire would do wonders for it, although again, Toyota is trying to preserve the efficiency and preserve the drivability. But as this truck sits with the 33s, it definitely looks a little bit weak on the outside, but once you kind of get past that, you can always upgrade the tires yourself in the aftermarket. I think this is definitely one of the better looking trucks that you're gonna find in the segment. And the other beauty about the TRD Pro is if you can find one of these at MSRP, they actually do undercut its competitors at the higher end when you start factoring in options. Because obviously if you're looking at something like an F-150 Tremor, those start at around $60,000. If you're looking at a GMC Sierra AT4, however, those also start around $70,000 with the 6.2. This truck here starts at just under 71 grand at 70,920. My tester, with the few options that it has, the raised lettering in the rear, the console safe, this one here with destination comes to just over $72,000. Now I know 72 grand sounds like a lot of money, especially if you guys are coming from the old Tundra, but remember, this has so much more technology, capability, luxury, style than the previous generation. Toyota had the right to charge more because they've just given this truck so much more in terms of features. And it still will undercut something like the Tremor, F-150 Tremor, at the high end by about $5,000. Keep in mind also the GMC Sierra AT4 will also come in around $75,000. So this is still well priced, just as long as you can find one at the dealer for MSRP, which if you look hard enough, you may be able to actually find one, because I have been seeing these show up on dealer lots and just on the road. Toyota managed to sell a little over 104,000 of these in 2022, and Toyota Tundra sales continue to rise, which makes this truck, again, a really nice alternative if you guys don't want to drive something from the big three. So with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing or trucks I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.